Welcome to the Sooners 360 Daily Recruiting Update from the podcast all about OU football recruiting. This episode is sponsored by Sooners 360 on Patreon. To support Sooners 360, please go to patreon.com, use the search feature, type in Sooners 360, follow the search results, and click subscribe. It's only $2 a month. There's also a free trial option. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Subscriber numbers and subscriber growth greatly help my channel with the YouTube algorithm stuff. For those of you that have already subscribed, it's greatly appreciated. You're constantly hearing content creators harp on this issue, and it's because it's the big element YouTube pays the most attention to. So thanks for subscribers. Thanks to everybody who subscribed. And if you're not, please go ahead and subscribe. We're over 500. We're making the march to 1,000. If you are listening to the audio version, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. That way you're getting all of the daily episodes pushed to you and you won't miss any content. This is June 28th, Powerline 2028 revealed. So I was struggling for a topic for today a little bit. I had a couple of ideas. And then fortunately, Elijah Harmon, the OU 2027 defensive line commitment from California, posted something on Twitter that made me think, well, that's what I should feature today. He did it yesterday, and requires a little bit of a background history storytelling. And I'm kind of a recruiting historian, so that kind of appealed to me. So let's just talk about the first power line, and that was in 2024. Okay, this is the best image I could find online. And for those on audio, basically I pulled an image from the 2024 recruiting cycle when OU was focused on, Todd Bates and Miguel Chavis started this power line, #Powerline recruiting message, recruiting gimmick, for lack of a better, recruiting tagline, for lack of a better term. And the 7 guys that made up the power line that OU wanted, and I'm showing an image right now that has 4 players on it and then 3 sort of shadow spots to be filled. So it's starting on the left, we have Nigel Smith. Then we have a blank spot. Then we have Jaden Jackson. Then we have David Stone. Then we have a blank spot. Then we have Wyatt Gilmore. Then we have one final sort of shadow image to the right there. So 4 players were verbally committed at this time when I got this image from the past. So the 3 players missing are obviously, the big player missing is Danny Okoye, who signed with OU. The other 2 guys who didn't sign with the Sooners are Dominic McKinley, defensive tackle at LSU, who's having a pretty good career. Can't say I've really tracked his career that much, but he seems to be having a good career. He's stuck at LSU. You know, he chose A&M out of high school. And when A&M fired Jimbo, he switched up and made the move to eventually chose LSU, flirted with OU, flirted with Ohio State, I think, and flirted with Texas heavily, but ended up choosing LSU. Then the other name on here is the other guy who's supposed to be on here as part of the 7 guys they wanted to sign was Zena Umazulu from Texas, signed with Texas. His brother was the offensive guard that OU wanted back in 2022. Wasn't able to get. And he signed as part of that power, that pancake NIL thing that had Jonathan Banks in it, DJ Campbell, and a couple others. He may still be at Texas, but I can't recall him doing anything right now. So Zena might be in there too deep. I haven't paid that much attention. So that's the two guys OU didn't get. It was very successful. They got 5 guys. When you're thinking about the 2 deep, OU's probably going to roll out this fall at defensive line. 4 of these guys are going to be in that. So of the 8 spots, 4 of them should be David Stone, Jonathan Jackson. Danny Okoye will either start at odd defensive end or be a co-starter. Nigel Smith probably will be the backup to David Stone inside, probably. And Wyatt Gilmore is probably somewhere around the 4th or 5th defensive end. So all 5 guys are tracking to have good Sooner careers. If you listen to Taylor Wine talking about Wyatt Gilmore on the Oklahoma Breakdown, Wyatt Gilmore is just kind of waiting for his time, just waiting for his spot. So he had some good highlights last year. So just like Nigel Smith, Wyatt Gilmore's ascendant time is coming. Same thing with Danny Okoye. OU, it's a really good class. David Stone was a 5-star. Danny Okoye was a top 100 player. Nigel Smith was a top 100 player. Jaden Jackson was woefully underranked at like 150 or something like that, has completely obliterated his recruiting rankings. And Wyatt Gilmore was like a high 3, maybe a low 4 on one site. So for the 5 of them, it was just an excellent defensive group. And just an excellent, if OU can stir the echoes of Powerline 2024 with this current group that I'm calling Powerline 2028, then OU fans will be extremely happy, as I'm about to lay out for you. So Elijah Harmon, like I said, started this, and he basically posted. Let me get to the right graphic here. There we go. So he basically posted this on Twitter. He listed 9 defensive players for 2028, and he posted below it some Todd Bates stuff talking about OU D-line, Boomer, and then Devin Robertson did the same thing. He calling OU D-line U, which I don't think is that far off. If what we think is going to happen defensively wise in the NFL draft happens based upon last year and what we think might happen in the future. And then Sione Falila posted it as well, and posted another graphic as well. So this is the 9 names. Let me just remove this quickly, and this is the graphic that they've been posting with the defensive line U and pumping OU up, all 3 of the OU defensive tackle commitments. And the coaches have been retweeting it. Like Dawson's been retweeting it. Taylor Redd has been retweeting it. Todd Bates. So it's a cool little effort. So obviously this is, for those that can't see it on audio, this is a number 1 in the SEC, talking about OU being the number 1 in the SEC in 17 defensive categories. Scoring defense, rushing defense, sacks, yards per play, tackles for loss, drive rate, opponent passing efficiency, possessions defended per game, yards per play, total defense, passing TDs around, total TDs allowed, yards per rush, points per possession, rushing TDs allowed, red zone TD rate, and first down efficiency. So that's I don't know if that's 17, but that's the ones that are listed on this graphic that I put out there. So basically just pushing out that OU is may have the number 1 defense in the SEC. There's been lots of preseason lists going out there. OU is like number 1 at D-line, number 3 at linebacker, and number 2 or 3 at secondary. So when you add those components up, definitely looks like OU could potentially again have the number 1 defense in the SEC. Number one defense in the country. There's obviously probably going to be somebody statistically better who plays a better schedule and doesn't have as much to compete as defensively. But if I'm going to go on a limb and say, if you're the number one defense in the SEC, you're the number one defense in college from a realistic, practical standpoint. So let me jump back to the Twitter image here. Let me get the right perspective here. So Elijah Harmon posted it, and the first one he posted was the first Twitter handle on here. Let me get first Twitter handle that he posted was Kellen H Big Dog. Okay. Then it's official _ number 9 RINC 3. Then it's at Jalanie George 15. Then it's at Asher Ghioto 34. Then it's _ that kid KY _. Then it's at Landon Wade _ D1. Then it's at Tyson Swann 10. And then it's at Geraci Carson 55. And then the last name is at Dawson _ DOJ. So nine Twitter handles. Probably don't mean a lot to a lot of you guys. Some of them are obvious, but I'm going to go ahead and clarify and tell you all about the Powerline 2028. Do the Twitter handle translations and give you the chances that I think the chances OU has with each kid. So we'll just do that for you. So all right, so let's move to a little bit of better explanation about the guys here. All right, so Kellen H Big Dog is obviously Kellen Hall, the 6'5", 270-pound, 5-star defensive tackle from Kentucky. Just visited OU for the summer camp. If you've been listening to anything I've been doing, this is not a new name for you. Then we have official _ 9 RINC3. That's Prince Chi, the 6'4", 300-pound, 5-star defensive end. It says defensive tackle. It says D end in my note there. I need to fix that. It's defensive end. Then at Jalanie George 15 is Jalanie George, the 6'5", 244-pound, 5-star defensive end. Then Asher Ghioto 34 is Asher Ghioto, 6'5", 240-pound, 5-star defensive end. That kid, KY, that's Keoni Snipes, the 6'5", 250-pound, 4-star defensive end. Then you have Landon Wade, _ D1. That is Landon Wade, the 6'5", 260-pound, 5-star defensive end / defensive tackle. Then you've got Tyson Wade, he's at Tyson Swann 10. Sorry, screwed the graphic up here. That's Tyson Swann, 6'5", 250-pound, 5-star defensive end, defensive tackle. Geraci Carson 55 is Geraci Carson, who I featured in one of my first videos talking about looking for a David Stone replacement. He's 6'5", 300 pounds. He's a 5-star defensive tackle. Then we have Dawson Jacobs, who's 6'3", 255, and he's a 4-star defensive tackle. So of these guys, obviously, it's a very impressive list. There are 7 of these guys have a 5-star grade by at least one service. Are they consensus 5 stars? 2028 is kind of a mess ranking-wise, but these guys all have at least one service, having them in like the top 25, top 30. And then you simply have, and you've got make that like that 7 of them are 5 stars. And that just tells you how good the defensive end group is in this class. I've talked about it a couple of times. It's kind of absurd. Just some of them also could flex up to defensive tackle, like Kellen Hall. So it's a D-line bonanza. So just like 2024 there was a lot of talented defensive tackles in 2024 as well, and defensive ends. It was a really good group. This is shaping up to be just as good. I have to apologize for a couple of typo mistakes I made. I was watching the Canadian soccer game a little too closely. So when you look down this list, obviously Kellen Hall visited OU. He's done interviews with multiple OU podcasts. OU's definitely in that fight, going to get an official visit and be part of this battle. Several of them have said that they feel like OU leads for Kellen Hall. I think it's a long way to go. You've got teams like Ohio State, Oregon in the mix. It's hard to know if OU can sustain what they've been able to do, but it's definitely interesting, and so we'll kind of see what happens there. Prince Chi was just on campus for a long weekend. He's from Georgia. OU has never been able to dent the elite Georgia defensive tackle barrier in the Peach State where I live. But he's visited. He has connections to OU. There was a really good article done by the Sooner Scoop guys talking about the fact that Prince Chi's coach has a connection to both Todd Bates and Brent Venables, a longtime connection. And Prince Chi is from Cameroon, so there's some possibilities there, I think, of OU staying in that fight longer than I thought. OU's heavily after Jalanie George. They just need to get him on campus for an unofficial visit. That's the only scheduling snafu OU's had. They haven't been able to get him on campus. I'm sure they'll get him on campus for a game this fall. They're in his top 6. OU has connections with the Desert Edge staff. He would be a huge get for the Sooners. Now, Asher Ghioto is from Florida. He visited OU last year. He got an early offer. OU's been early in his recruiting. But I'll be honest, it's starting to look like Miami or Florida are going to pull that off, and OU doesn't have much of a shot. That may change with some action this fall, but right now I would say I don't really like OU's chances there. Now, Keoni Snipes, that's a whole very different story. He's visited OU several times. He's Jamison Roberts' teammate. He seems to really like the Sooners. I think OU is going to be in that battle right to the end. Landon Wade is from Arizona. Not sure where OU is in that battle. Very much would like for them to stay in it. They just offered Tyson Wade. He is from the D.C., Maryland kind of area. OU's not had a lot of success there since Shane Beamer left the OU staff. Everybody in college football wants him. I'd like to think he could visit unofficially and OU could make a move here, but I kind of doubt it. I do think OU is going to at least stay in the battle for Geraci Carson from Mississippi, the 6'5", 300-pound defensive tackle. I think they're going to stay in that battle. I can see them being getting an unofficial, staying in that loop for at least a little while. LSU and Ole Miss are obviously probably the front runners if you're just going off just some general stuff off the internet. But OU's definitely trying to stay in that recruiting race. Last but not least, Dawson Jacobs is from Georgia. He's a 6'3", 255-pound 4-star defensive tackle. I'll be honest, he's the only guy I have not watched film of from this list. So I need to do some homework and do some research on him. His brother, I believe, is David Jacobs, who's the elite guy going to Ohio State. So I would think in Ohio State, following his brother at Ohio State is going to be the move, but not done any research into it. But that's the 9 guys, I think, for now, represent the Powerline 2028, if we're going to use that. And it's fascinating. I think OU has a legitimate chance with 4 of them right now. And it's early yet, so we'll see if we need to add a different name to this list, remove a name, and redefine it a little. Redefine it a little bit later this fall, or maybe in January we'll do a focused Powerline 2028. But these were obviously 9 names that Elijah Harmon came up with. I'm guessing maybe, I'm guessing he didn't come up with those names by himself. So, and those names have been all over Twitter and OU Twitter for the last 24 hours. And I'm doing a video about them, so we're only going to increase that attention. So keep an eye out for recruiting updates about these guys. I will be updating you guys about the Powerline, additions and subtractions. In a couple of months, we'll do a Powerline update. And we'll go from there. But OU certainly seems to be flexing their recruiting weight at defensive line in this class. So I think you can expect 5 to 6 guys, or you try to focus on 5 to 6 guys. And obviously they're the 2 off the top. If they could just get Hall and Prince Chi, you'd call it a day and move on. So, but if you could add any of these defensive ends into the mix, that would be just awesome. All right, guys, that's your Sunday update. I'll be back tomorrow with another feature for the daily recruiting update. Chris Griffin and I will be back Monday night with our regularly scheduled recruit intel. We got some stuff to talk about. There's been some action with some of the OU remaining targets. We'll definitely get to that. And we're going to be showing some of the videos for the guys listed here on the Powerline, most specifically Jalanie George and Tyson Swann. So just as a sneak preview of some of the stuff we're going to talk about tomorrow night. All right, thanks, everyone, and I will be back tomorrow.